everyone. Welcome to today's AdvocateHub class. Today we're going to be talking about growing your engaged advocate. So I'm excited to see that you all joined us. So my name is Heather. I regularly am here to teach the class. I've got Dawn hanging out with me from the Influitive support team, as well as Shannon from the Influitive support, now coach team. And then on the line joining me, I have Liz Richardson. So one of the feedbacks we always hear from you guys is that you want to hear more about what other administrators are doing. So today we've been lucky enough just for Liz to come and hang out with us for a little bit and share some of her insights and experiences. So Liz, I don't know if you wanted to say hello.
Hi everyone, nice to be here.
Yeah, so we're super lucky to have Liz, and this is going to be a great class. So let's get started. What are we going to be talking about? So first we're going to do some quick demos. I'm going to show you guys how to set up an admin goal, and we're going to quickly review the community tab, which is a new feature that was launched today. Then we're going to talk about a few different strategies for engaging or re-engaging your advocates, and then we're going to hear from Liz. And then, of course, we'll have time for questions. So at the end, you'll be able to submit audio questions if you'd like, or you can just submit them in the chat window on the side of the screen, and we'll answer them sort of as we go, and we'll save them maybe the larger questions for the end of the class. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Okay, so here we are in YogaCast, which is my test hub. So we're going to go over, okay, there we go. Now it's working. Okay, so we're in YogaCast, which is my test hub. We're going to flip into Advocate View, just so we can see what's happening there. A lot's happening. So here we have 4 tabs. We have Home, Challenges, Rewards, and Referrals. We're going to switch back to Admin View. We're going to do 2 different things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look right here at your program goals. So this is really a way to allow you as the administrator to track what's important to you and to sort of evaluate the health of your Advocate Hub with respect to how you're progressing towards what you want to accomplish with it. So if you're going to add a goal, you just click Add a Goal. And because we're talking about engaging advocates, today we're going to create a goal around advocate engagement. If you guys haven't done this, I definitely recommend that you do. I'm going to scroll so you can kind of see what else is available. The only one that sort of just works around advocate engagement is the goal of advocate engagement. So what is the goal per month? I'm going to put in 30 engaged advocates. So my goal will be to have 30 engaged advocates at any given month. And I'm going to hit Save. Now here I have this new goal. So I'm 7% towards my goal. This is my target, and then it gives me a little bit of room to go over top. So of the 30 advocates that I would like to have engaged in my hub this month, I only have 2. That's because it's a test hub. No one really uses it except for me. So, okay, here we go. So that's what your goals are all about. You definitely want to set one of those up so that you can make sure that you're always working towards increased advocate engagement. And now we're going to talk about the Community tab, which I would describe to you as a tool to increase and encourage advocate engagement. So some of you may have been familiar with the News feature, the News tab. So in addition to the Referrals tab, we had the News tab for a little bit, and that was an experiment that was being done by our Influitive Labs team. And essentially they were looking at different ways of serving up content within the Advocate Hub to your advocates. They didn't find that the experiment had a lot of strong results with respect to driving advocate engagement or sort of increasing advocate retention, but they definitely believe in this concept of having extra content in here for your advocates. And we know a lot of you are looking for ways to help your advocates interact with each other. And so as a result, we bring you the Community tab. So if you go into your settings under System, you'll see the Influitive Labs option. And here you can enable the Community tab. You can also enable the new dashboard. I'll show you guys what that looks like too since we're here. And then you can just hit Save Changes. Now I'm going to go over here into Advocate View. So this is the dashboard, and it looks like this. A little bit flashier than what we had before. All your challenges show up there with your pictures, which is kind of cool. But the Community tab is really what we're talking about right now. So if you select Community, you'll see this here. So this is basically the ability for someone to share an article that they've read or that they've seen, or a website they think is super great. I'm just going to submit Google because it's easy to remember. And now anyone can see that I've posted this, and they should be able to comment on it. I can't comment on my own post here, but other people are able to post or to comment on it for me. So that's basically what this is all about. It's to encourage your advocates to interact with each other. Hopefully they'll share some content back and forth. This is sort of the first iteration of this beta feature, so we expect that it will sort of evolve quite a bit from its current standpoint, but this is a jumping off point. And if you're looking for a unique and interesting and new way to help your advocates become engaged with each other or with your AdvocateHub program, this is definitely a great place to start. So back from there, now we're going to go back to our slideshow. No more. Okay. So step number one, or tip number one for engaging your advocates. Definitely you want to start by creating fun and engaging challenges. You don't just want to have challenges that are around, can you do this for me, or can you do this for me? Truman, our all-star administrator through Influitive VIP, recommends that you have 1/3 direct ask, 1/3 educational challenges, and then 1/3 fun challenges. So fun challenges we find are a great way to entice people to come back into the hub, and then once they do, there's often a ripple effect where once they're in the hub, they do other activities. So a good way to maintain engagement, to encourage people to return on a regular basis, is to offer regular fun challenges, send those out, and encourage people to come visit you. So in 2 weeks, I will be on vacation, but Don, our flashy new Before magician, he will be in the chair, and he'll be teaching you guys a class with basically some tips and tricks for making awesome challenges, taking advantage of some cool, maybe underused ideas for making your challenges awesome and getting the most out of your AdvocateHub. This is a quick little plug to look forward to. But as a general rule, you always want to be making sure that you have fun and engaging challenges in your AdvocateHub. So that's some insights for you guys to take away today. The next thing is you want to communicate with your advocates. And that's really been a theme that we've been talking about on the Customer Success Team at Influitive for the last 2 weeks, is how do you communicate with your advocates and what are the impacts of this? And we found some really interesting results. So there's a few different ways that you can communicate with your advocates. Number one, you can provide feedback. So when you see an advocate activity on their profile, there's a little button underneath it that will say provide feedback, and you can click there and just send them some feedback, Hey, so-and-so, love that post. Thank you so much for sharing. Hey, can you, add some extra insight into this? Just basically recognizing your advocates for what they're doing for you is really, really important. And one way that you can do that is providing feedback. Another way that you can do that is by sending messages using our in-app messaging feature. So it's like a little inbox thing you have as the administrator. And this is a great way to communicate with your advocates. And the benefit of this feature is it allows more back and forth. So an issue with providing feedback is that advocates can't necessarily respond to your feedback. There's no way for them to comment on it or to respond to you in a direct way. Sometimes it just feels like you're throwing messages out into the abyss. And while it's still a really good way to get your advocates' attention and invite them back into the hub, it's not the best way to engage them in a conversation. So that's something that our product team is definitely working on improving, but something to keep in mind for now. So sending messages is a way to build a conversation with your advocates. And you can do that just by exactly what it sounds like, sending them a message. And you can do this in the same way that you provide feedback. When people join, you can send them a message saying, hey, thanks for joining, welcome. If someone's really been on a tear, just doing so many challenges, not a bad idea to reach out, send them a message and thank them for what they're doing, saying, hey, I noticed you're really busy. Are there any special rewards that you would be interested to see? Are there any specific challenges that you might be interested in seeing? Keep in mind that anyone who's doing a lot of challenges is someone that might not have a lot of challenges left for them to do. So when you're making new challenges, they might be the first to see them. So it's a good idea to reach out and get their feedback on what new challenges you should create. So Don did a little bit of data crushing or number crunching, and found that there is an 11% increase in advocates returning to the hub if they receive feedback. So he looked at the rate at which people return to the AdvocateHub just in general, and then the rate at which advocates who receive feedback return to the hub, and he found that there was an 11% increase or difference in the two. So it really does, it's sort of, a numerically proven fact that people who receive more feedback do actually return to the hub more often. So that is a good strategy to take on. And we were looking specifically at providing feedback, but as it is the same idea as sending messages, we believe that's also a great strategy to follow. The last tip I have here, Liz is going to talk a little bit more about, but I'm just going to sort of brush over it for now. This is a really cool idea that she shared with us. I just have a couple screenshots to demonstrate what we're talking about. But essentially what you can do is, as the administrator, when you're logged in, you can flip over into Advocate View, and you can comment on social challenges. So as some of you may know, when you create a challenge, you're able to make it so that for this stage, responses to advocates submit are available publicly, whether that's uploading a photo or answering some questions, whatever you choose to be. So when you go into Advocate View, you'll see all these publicly available responses, and you are able to publicly comment on them or like them, the same as you can on Facebook. And that's a way to sort of get some, it's good for two reasons. One, it's a great sort of public way for you to communicate with your advocates. It's easy for them to communicate back to you. The other thing is that it shows all of your advocates that you are being very active, that you're not just talking to them, but that you are an administrator who's really trying to engage their entire community. And that is a really great thing. I think it develops a little bit of personal attachment on their behalf and is really helpful in building retention in that sense. So if you look at this photo on the right-hand side of the screen, this is just a screenshot from my Yoga Cats Hub. So it says, share a photo of your cat being hilarious. This is what the challenge looks like. So at the bottom, you can see it says what others are saying. When we flip to the next page, I have a couple screenshots of some challenge responses that were submitted for this challenge. And then below, you can see that I've commented on them and then liked them. So this is just to show you what the functionality itself actually looks like. If you do have challenges that have publicly available responses, this is a great thing to do. And if you don't, then I definitely recommend that you set them up so that you can do this. It's a good way to show that you have this community going on and that you're participating. I think it will also encourage other advocates to do the same, to comment socially and really share their feedback and become connected with one another. So specifically, so we've talked about reaching out to advocates in general, but you definitely want to reach out to non-engaged advocates. So last week in the class about rewards, we talked about reaching out to people who've never redeemed rewards and ask them what rewards they might be interested in seeing in your Advocate Hub. This is sort of the same concept. The people that are not participating, you want to know why so that you can craft the experience to encourage them to participate. So if you reach out to non-engaged advocates, first of all, the numbers show that it encourages them to return to the Hub and participate further. But the other thing is that you want to reach out to them, whether you're giving them feedback, sending them messages, and let them know that you care about them, that you're interested in their experience, and to find out what exactly they would want to see from you so that you can make sure that you're providing the best experience for them possible. So what do the numbers say? So Don compiled these for us as well. So he looked at an 11-week average across all Advocate Hubs and found that 38% of inactive advocates who received feedback were encouraged to return to the Hub as a result. So we looked at feedback that was sent to non-engaged advocates and found that 38% of them, once they received that feedback, were so encouraged by it that they came back into the Hub and then completed a challenge. Not only did they complete a challenge, but many of them returned the next week as well to complete a further challenge. So sometimes it's just, let's say, for example, over the holidays you have non-engaged advocates who are busy and they just haven't had time. And it's simply a matter of reminding them. We don't want you to think about like, oh, I'm bothering the people who don't want to participate in the program. Often they do, but it's just that little reminder, that push to come back that they need. And it's really valuable for you to be a part of that, to be a part of what's reminding them to come back. That it's not just an email that comes out every week, but it's a special touch from you that comes out and reaches and say, hey, we miss you. We'd love to see you. Here's a challenge for you. And that can take the form of challenge notification messages, special emails, messages, feedback, comments, the whole thing. So that's something we definitely want you guys to look towards. So what are some other ways to reach out and engage your advocates? So these are a few ideas that we've got from Liz, from Sherwin, and just from our team in general. So one thing that's really popular is spring cleaning challenges. So any sort of challenge that incentivizes a lot of mass challenge completion. So we saw one of these from a hub around Valentine's Day where they basically sent out a challenge saying, hey, happy Valentine's Day. We've got some cool rewards that are available only today. If you come in today and you complete these, if you come in today and complete a challenge, we'll give you some bonus points for every single challenge that you do. So things like that where it's sort of like a scarcity one-day only special offer, that is a great way to get people to come in. But also you can do the same thing around like spring cleaning. So there are some challenges you can offer to say maybe, and we're going to be putting a challenge template around this in your challenge template library, essentially to say, come in and complete some challenges you haven't done in a while, and for every single one that you do, we'll give you some bonus points. So Liz says this and targets non-engaged challenges. And I, again, will let her speak to that a little bit further. So another thing to do is just like an interesting, fun challenge. Because this can be any random thing. It can be like, hey, who do you think is going to win the Olympics? Just something that's going to pique people's interest to get them to come back into the AdvocateHub. Because time and time again, we see that people who come in for any reason stay for a while. And then the last thing that we suggest as a good idea to pursue is something offering free points. And this kind of falls in the category of an interesting, fun challenge, but just something that says like, hey, come visit us. We'll give you 50 free points. Really, you're looking at anything that you can do to get people to come back into the application. Okay, and with that, I'm actually going to turn things over to Liz. So we have Liz Richardson joining us. She is the All-Star Administrator from the Bomgar AdvocateHub. Her hub routinely has over 200 engaged advocates. So she's done pretty much all the things we talked about today. Some of those ideas we talked about came right from Liz, and so she's going to share some insights. I'm going to flip to the next slide, which has sort of a list of a few different things that Liz has done, and I'm just going to kind of let Liz take over. All right, Liz.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Heather. So I'm Liz, and I run the Bomgar Insider, which is our Advocate Hub. And for Bomgar, our end users or our advocates, our fans, are remote support technicians. So whether it be your internal IT team, or you could be a support team for a really large company that supports all their customers. So we have a lot of techie guys in our hub. We're fairly new still, but we've gotten a lot of great interaction. And so like Heather said, we have tried several of these things already. And I think that the common element through all of them has been making the challenges personal on some level, whether the challenge itself speaks to them personally in a really human way, or whether it's being your actual human self and getting in there and talking to them and building relationships with them. So although now that we've had our hub open for a while, we are having to be a little more creative in how we get people to re-engage with us. We're also much further along the relationship path, and we've seen some really fun relationships grow because of some of these interactions. So Heather has up there first our football challenge. Influitive did a little case study on this, so some of you may have read it. But of course in the U.S., football is our sport. This is probably the most watched sport in our country. And so we put up a Super Bowl challenge, and basically I put it up right when playoffs started. I actually like to watch football, so it's something I personally like to do anyway, and so it was fun for me, which I think that your advocates could feel when it's something you're also interested in. And I basically listed all the teams in the playoffs, and I said, this day you get like this many days to vote before the actual playoffs begin, and put in your team. And everyone got like a little bit of points for voting, 25 or 50 points. But whoever actually voted for the winning team ended up getting a big hunk of points. Like, I can't even remember. It was 500 or 1,000. And so you can see the stats on the blog post. But Influitive did a little digging for us, and the email was sent out to about 450 advocates. And out of those 450, 104 clicked through. So that's a pretty good average. That's a little less than 25%. And then 66 people completed that football challenge. And of those 66 people, 60 of them went on to complete other challenges. So that's just an example of, do something that relates to your audience. Obviously, we all know this, but also I think relates to you as well. It shows some of your personality, and then it gets them kind of excited. As I went through and eliminated people from the competition, I did take time to say, I'm so sorry for your team's loss, and I had watched most of the games, so I at least knew a sentence or two to say, oh my gosh, that was crazy in the fourth quarter. I can't believe that. So it just it makes it feel like it's real. You're real. You're not just some random person at this company where they send money to you. You're actually a real person, and it's fun to interact with them in that way. So that was an example of a fun challenge. Another challenge, and I'm going to skip here from Heather has this kind of toward the bottom, but this is just another example of a fun challenge. It was on Monday, this Monday in the U.S., was President's Day, of course, and some people get this day off, but I'd say probably most don't get it off. Now, thankfully, I work for a company, and we did get it off, but I was sitting here on my couch, and I was thinking, oh, what about all those poor people who still have to work, and what could I do today to engage my advocates when, some people will not be at work, so they might be a little less busy today. So what can I do to get people back in? So all I did was put up a President's Day free points challenge, and it just said, hey, are you one of the people who has to work today? Isn't that a bummer? Why don't you have 75 points on us? And I included an image, a President's Day image, which I think also helped with the engagement. And when I sent out the notification email, that helped to engage the advocates. And so 113 advocates came and completed this challenge, which is awesome because that's a 20% completion rate of everyone who could have completed it, because I sent it to everybody. I only had it up for, I said, it's today only, and I probably put it up around 10 or 11, so it was only up for about 12 hours. So in 12 hours we had 113 people come into our hub, and we got to engage with them that day. And then as Heather put here, 31% of those were previously not engaged at the time. So that's great. We got to have a little face-to-face time with those people, and they got to come in and see some of the challenges that had been around maybe for a little bit that they hadn't had a chance to complete. And then half of these went on to do at least one additional challenge, which is good. And then most did at least 3 additional challenges, which is much better, obviously. So that's just another example of something fun to do. I'm reading a great book right now on social media, and one of the points in this book is there's almost something going on every day that you can make into some sort of pool, some sort of little statement, whether it be fun or you could tie it to your brand or whatever it is. So I would say look for those. The obvious are holidays, but look for maybe less known ones and think creatively around that of ways to bring people back in by doing something humorous or doing something which is just a random way to give them points. This is back to Heather covered this, but treating them as as individuals, talking to them, building a relationship with them. I put up around Valentine's. I put up a challenge, and it said basically, what's the best way an end user, so anyone you've supported, has shown you appreciation for the work that you do? IT guys often feel underappreciated. Obviously, they're fixing everybody else's stuff. They often understand technical things that nobody else understands, and they feel like they're having to kind of dumb themselves down for us. So how do people show you appreciation? And I sent it to only engaged advocates, about 267, and I got 86 challenge completions. And what I did with this challenge is what Heather mentioned. I went through the social interaction because I made the answers visible, publicly visible. And I went through and I answered everyone basically who had put in, they were saying cookies, they were saying pizza, tell my manager that I'm awesome, write me a thank you note, just say thank you. And then a couple people were humorous and they said, well, next time don't break anything. And I took the time to go through that and at least like everybody's. And then on a lot of them I took the time to respond. And I said something like, oh man, all these people getting free food, I must be in the wrong department, and a little humor back and forth with them. A couple really fun responses came out of that. One advocate wrote me a message in the hub personally and said, hey, I got this notice that you had responded to my answer, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's so cool. She took the time to respond to my answer. But then I went in and I saw that you'd responded to like everybody's answers instead of thinking like, oh, I'm not special. He actually said, that just made me feel like, oh, how awesome. They're taking the time to make people feel special and heard, and like they're actually listening. He wrote me this long paragraph about it. And it was very, very, very sweet and very much encouraging, and telling that, you know, we need to take more time to actually respond to all this wonderful interaction that we're having in our hubs. I got another response, another message, and this one was really cute. And this was an IT guy, and he basically said, Liz needs food was the subject line, and it said, hey, I think that you need some free food. You know, send me your address, and I would like to send you a pizza, which was just awesome. I did not have him send me a pizza because I said, actually, I'd like to reward you for your interaction. This is what I do. But he said, anytime I change my mind, there's free pizza waiting for me, which is really cool. So that was just another way. And then taking the time, one last point I think would be just taking the time to connect with them outside the hub. Heather had a really good suggestion last week of interacting with your advocates on LinkedIn. So she suggested that you connect with people on LinkedIn and you get them to add your solution or product or whatever as a LinkedIn skill. So I thought, this is an awesome idea. I'm going to do this. I put up a challenge, you know, and it said, I sent it to everyone who'd already joined our LinkedIn group, so I knew that they were on LinkedIn. And I said, you know, add Bomgar as a skill set in your LinkedIn profile, and you'll get some points. And a bunch of people did, a bunch. And I went in and I asked, you know, I sent personal messages to everybody on LinkedIn and asked to connect with them. And if they connected with me, I went back in and I endorsed them for their Bomgar skill. And then I also endorsed them for skills which I knew they would have, like technical support or customer service. So that was a great way to interact with them. It also is building relationship outside of the hub, so it's making it even more real. And from different challenges, I've talked to people on LinkedIn, had conversations on LinkedIn, and I've had conversations on Twitter, and I've had people just email me randomly asking me, you know, how I like doing what I'm doing, and it's been really great to have these conversation starters. So I think all of these things combined are great ideas for bringing people back in, and I think that the common element is just be really, really human and transparent with them and offer them fun and valuable experiences, but be sure to put like a human element to it so that they really feel like not only are they having great interaction with your brand, but they're also creating a relationship that is valuable to them and entertaining and rewarding on many different levels. And that's basically just an outline of what we've done so far. We did also, do a spring cleaning challenge. And basically I set up this challenge to be visible to anyone who hasn't been engaged in the last 3 weeks. And so if they come in, they'll see the spring cleaning challenge, and it gives them 150 points. And it says, if you do 5 challenges today and then submit this challenge, you get 150 points. So it's a little bit of manual work, but it has been completed many times, and so it has been effective, and it's been a great incentive for people to, you know, not just do one challenge and then leave, one challenge that they were pulled into maybe through an email, that they go in there and they think, okay, fine, I can do 5 challenges to get 150 points. And they end up getting used to the hub. They are getting used to the interaction, and then they've done 5 challenges. So if I want and have the time, I can go in and interact, like Heather said, and leave feedback and talk to them, and then that's another pull back in. So like I said, we're still learning, but those are just some of the ideas that we've been able to test so far.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Liz. That was super interesting. I've been jotting notes down the whole time. Okay.
No problem.
So super insightful. So we have just 2 questions there in the chat room that I'm going to answer. So we're getting close to the end here. So I'm going to move to the question slide. If you guys have any other questions, please type them in the slide and let us know. And then I have 2 questions here that I'm going to start addressing. So the first question is from Mary at Cloudworth asking, are the questions configurable in the community tab? So back to the beginning when we were looking at the community tab. If you remember, it says basically, read something interesting lately, share the link with your community here. Right now that's the only thing it can say. We can't change it to say like share a best practice or share your insight on this. But what you can do if you want to sort of direct the conversation is you can post your own questions or comments in that section along with your own links. So certainly there's room for you as the administrator to sort of drive that discussion, but there's not a way right now to configure what the text actually says. It's possible that in a future iteration of the feature that might be something that we do offer. So definitely I'll pass it along to our product team. And if you guys do have any feedback about things that you like or dislike with the community tab, please let us know, because as we said, this is part of an experiment. So understanding how your advocates like it and how you guys like it is super important to us, and definitely can have a lot of impact on future iterations of this feature. And then the next question is, are new rewards the best way to do that? So I believe this is referencing earlier when we were talking about getting people to come back with new challenges that sort of talked about scarcity and sort of incent them to come in. So I was talking about a challenge someone had put in that basically said, like, everything you do today gets you extra points. Also, we have some new rewards that are available today only. Offering new rewards is a good way to do that, especially if you are offering extra points, because then, the more things they do, the more bonus points they get, the more likely they are to be able to purchase this reward or sort of trade them in for this reward. But certainly rewards are not the only way to do that. I think the key takeaway for that concept is the idea of scarcity. So the idea of promoting to your advocates and letting them know that, hey, like, whatever this activity is, it's only there for a limited time. Like, you have to action it now. You can't just say, oh, that's cool, so-and-so emailed me, I'll go in tomorrow or the next day or whenever I feel like it, and then they forget and they never do it. So definitely, and this is something that Truman from Influitive VIP really talks about a lot, is this idea of scarcity and promoting scarcity to encourage people, to give them a sense of urgency and encourage them to come back into the hub now, and not in 3 days, but like do it today or do it often. And it's just essentially to discourage people from putting off activities and making them kind of feel like they're missing out if they're not there, which they are, hopefully. So I don't see any other additional questions. So I guess we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all for attending. As always, we'll send out a recording of this so you can share with all your friends and coworkers. So thank you so much for joining today. And again, thank you so much to Liz for coming in and hanging out with us. You offered some really, really valuable and awesome insights. So thank you so much, you guys, and have a great day.